Nothing like,
That's the bonding experience, right?
nothing like spending 3 hours with a guy sitting there.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll work out very well.
How are you doing with that? Yeah.
How am I doing?
Yeah. You drove yourself here?
No,
Okay.
no.
Is it your right hand?
Yeah,
Oh, it's your gas bed, it's your gas foot.
yeah, which is, yeah, I'm just trying to.
It might go down and just stay down.
Which, yeah, that's good. No, it's just so it's behind me. I'm just trying to keep myself. So, yeah, maybe if you can adjust it.
It looks.
Yeah, and it's longer.
Is it a pillow?
Yes, he does.
It's longer before they let you drive, when it's rising, because that's.
Yeah, yeah.
Hi, Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay Bears.
They're hunting out.
They have a website design, so he's going.
They put this by your chair, okay? So people think it's your.
Just want to make sure you didn't want me to have that.
Aaron just got yours, maybe they emailed him.
Oh, I don't. I think either way you want to do it. Something.
Looks like you're-
Oh,
Looks like you're moving around
I
well.
don't think he'll go till,
yeah, better than I deserve, probably.
he'll go after you. I'm pretty
No
sure.
problem.
Yeah, he'll go. He'll go after you.
Okay.
I mean, he's not even really up.
Okay.
When is Jay gonna do this? Talk about his, we'll do it in the end, the board comment or something.
Yeah, and, yeah. And, yeah, when it gets to, well, we're all just, it's not on the agenda, but I might just say, you know, you got. Under, somebody have any new business, and just say, it's not on here. but-
Yeah.
Under old business, I can just ask.
Hey, Adam,
Hello,
how are you?
How you doing?
all right, I'm here,
Sound good.
I'm here and I'm not.
That's okay. I admit to ask.
Wish you were, but you wanted.
Yeah.
Did you get a positive surgeon report after it was over?
Yeah, you know, they give you these pictures, which I think are just, they cover themselves, look, we actually did this, through the pictures.
We just didn't inject you with
Hey,
pain.
John, I didn't do any work for any of my children being born, as I think you can
Yes,
attest to. But the fourth child came out while I was there and there was no doctor.
oh, really?
And so, but I did get a bill from the doctor.
Did you send me in return? You sent it to me.
Oh, this is a, will someone get in there? And they're like, this is your fourth. You get it.
I don't know, I don't want to. Yeah.
I bet.
Almost there.
6 years apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, between oldest and
Now
youngest.
Troy, she had 4 kids.
Yeah, that's great, thanks.
It was just bad.
Our oldest was born, sitting in a chair in the corner. By the time the youngest was born, I was sitting out there, he was born, they handed me to him,
What?
holding him, he still got him. And he just all.
Big.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Eric.
To her great credit, for about 15 we ran 3 miles each of the days.
But I think that's a real.
The story.
She's still hardest that.
Yeah, I do too, I do too. But, yeah, but it took me in on this.
And we can name them. The wine card stuff.
You know, actually, they're all called the John.
How you doing, big man? Want to borrow some?
Yeah, I did.
I feel it.
As long as you can mix
Hey,
it.
you could take them, reverse oscillator. I could put 2 more wheels on it and an electric motor and always.
Yeah, I'm doing real well. Hey, you're welcome to rent it. I'll let you take a walk. with
I
me.
know your nickel for just touching it, don't you?
That's blue. That's absolutely bad. That's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's in my office. Thank you.
Because it was even through windows, it looked like it was.
I know, you can change your back.
Oh, so that's what.
And my office is a mess right
Oh,
So I
okay.
chose the rank, it's like, the right feed.
All right, because I thought, where are those orange doesn't do it?
You're the second person on the Zoom call last week. And they made those, some background. Yeah, I tried the one where you can add your own background, but if you make you kind of, your yeah. And I decided not to. I just learned how you have. I would, just, yeah, and I've done that. You have, you would never just.
Yeah.
It's the world.
You're
Doing good.
No, this is good. I'm good now. Thank you.
Another day in here, well.
I missed.
There may be somebody, but I.
Yeah.
What it does sound good.
Yeah, we know.
Molly Burn.
Only one friend.
Oh, she's a county.
I know Molly is, I know the Molly is.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Molly is going to county.
Yeah.
Molly Burns.
Oh,
Well,
no.
Okay.
I've done that on this.
Joe Chris.
Oh. Yeah.
And you. Yeah.
Molly was trying to.
You get to bond.
He's,
For one day.
Okay.
Chase had recently.
Yeah.
Yes, Steve does.
Yeah.
It's,
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got about 2 minutes before we can start.
James, how do
Yeah.
It's just you, like, it's only.
It's like you just- Yeah. He does, so what he does.
Yes, and they're working terrible.
Yeah.
That one, there's.
Yeah, it's just a complicated. His question was, you're going to have to individual.
Oh, yeah, eliminate.
Because I explained what we're going to do today, so it's. You're going to take.
Yeah.
All right, my phone tells me it's 3 o'clock, so we will call this meeting to order. And I will ask Mr. Whitlash to take the roll, please.
John Wycart, Eric Spoonmore. Here. Doug Bruce. Here. Joyce Bowling.
Here.
Adam Tees. Here. Jim Silverstein. Here. Jay Bear. Here.
Thank you. Second item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, which included the meeting minutes from our May 8th meeting, as well as the memorandum of May 13th regarding the executive session. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Joyce has moved. Is there a second? Second. Second. Okay, Mr. Bear is second. So unless there's any discussion, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, you're going to take the roll?
I'll do the roll. John Wycart,
Yes.
Eric Spoonmore.
Yes.
Doug Bruce,
Yes.
Joyce Bowling, Adam Tees,
Yes.
Jim Silverstein,
Yes.
Jay Bear.
Yes.
Thank you. I want to point out that our usual note taker, Chase Harris, is not with us today. Ty is here from the firm to help us, so we'll have to be even more careful about making sure we identify ourselves, so Ty knows who's talking. The next item on the agenda is the north expansion elimination. And let me begin by just giving some background to this item as an agenda item, historical background. At our March 8th meeting, we had received responses from both the city and the county regarding questions about availability of properties, of locations for expansion. The letter from the county had 20 parcels identified that were all being donated for use for the expansion project. The letter from the city identified 5 parcels, 3 of which were being donated for the expansion project, and 2 of the parcels, which we've commonly identified as the Bunger Robertson site properties, were not being donated, but instead the letter from the Corporation Council of the city said that the city would be seeking reimbursement from food and beverage tax back to the TIF for those purchases. In addition, we had another letter, a copy of a letter from the city council to the RDC, and the city council had expressed its support. 8 of the members of the city council, I believe, had signed the letter in support of the position that they also expected reimbursement for the Bunger Robertson property from food and beverage tax. So at our May meeting, we set a May 13th executive session meeting for the purpose of discussing strategy related to the purchase or negotiation of land. We're permitted to do that in executive session under the state code. As we discussed the offer from the city to enter into negotiations to purchase the Bunger Robertson property, given the other options that were available to us, there was no support from any members of the board in the executive session for negotiating for purchase of the parcels to the north, the Bunger Robertson properties. There was no support for bargaining for the purchase of those properties using food and beverage tax funds that were dedicated to the convention center expansion project. We asked Mr. Whitlash to notify the city after that meeting, and he notified Corporation Council Rice on our behalf and copied other elected officials as well, the mayor, the president of the city council, president of the county council, the president of the county commissioners, again, that it was not our intent to enter into negotiations to purchase the property. There were no formal votes taken on anything in the executive session. We ended the executive session having completed what we're prescribed and permitted to do under the statute, which was simply discuss strategy related to land purchase. Subsequently, after that meeting, both the county council and the county commissioners met at their regular meetings on May 14th and 15th and expressed their support for the position that we had taken on the property. So that brings us to today. We, from our executive session, we advised that it was not our intent to enter into negotiations for purchase, but today what we need to talk about is how we advise the city that it's not our intent not only to enter into a purchase, but given that that was the offer they made to us, and that is a condition for acquiring the property, that we now need to determine in this public setting if we are therefore eliminating the north expansion from that direction to the north from this project. So having given that background, what I would ask for is a formal motion by the board in this public meeting to eliminate that north portion from the expansion project. And then if we have a motion and a second, that will open it up for discussion and comments among the board members. So is there a motion to eliminate the 2 parcels to the north from consideration for expansion?
I'll move that we eliminate the north expansion option for the capital to the board's consideration.
Okay, so motion by Mr. Spoonmore and second by Joyce Fuller. All right, so we have a motion and a second. So let's open the floor for comment, for discussion. So comments from board members about the motion.
Well, I'll start. I think the decision to take, what little money funds that we have, as we look at this project down the road and the impacts that might be in the percentage of the budget that inevitably we're working towards. It's just too big of a hit when we've got other options available. And I think we've got very capable architects and we've got some other options that I think could be just as, viable for an expansion that it just, to me personally, doesn't make sense to spend funds purchasing property when we've got 20 pieces of a puzzle already in place that are here for us to use without cost.
Ty, that was Mr. Bruce. All right. Mr. Spoonwell?
Yeah, I'll take an opportunity to explain my vote. I really appreciate the city's offer with putting this offer out there. I think it's a great parcel of land that will be very valuable at some point for the downtown. We'll make a great project some way, somehow. Kind of in my background, coming from the county council, I recall when the tax was passed, I don't think there was ever any desire to have the tax, the food and beverage tax money used for acquisition of property. At that time, we knew we had all the property that we needed, either to the east, to the west, or to the south. And so I think it would be doing from a taxpayer stewardship standpoint, from the spirit in which that tax was passed in the first place, we would be doing a disservice by using that money to acquire additional property when we already have an adequate bank of property for the expansion. But I do appreciate having the opportunity to consider it. And I'm certain that it will be an outstanding project at some point in the future that will really benefit our downtown and tie in very well with what we're doing with the expanding bridges.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. So the motion is to eliminate the north expansion option from consideration for the project. Mr. Whitlash, if you take the roll.
John Wyckoff,
Yes?
Eric Spoonmore.
Yes.
Doug Bruce,
Yes.
Joyce Polling, Adam Teese,
Yes.
Jim Silverstein,
Yes.
Jay Bear.
Yes.
Okay, so that being a unanimous vote in support, thank you very much. Before we move on to the next item, by this action, we've eliminated the north location, and that leaves obviously 3 other directional locations for consideration on the land that's available and donated by both the city and the county. 20 parcels by the county and three by the city. And our stated goal in our last meeting, given many considerations, timing and expense, was to move by our June meeting, by June 12th, to a discussion and a decision on location. So to that end, and consistent with our other practices we've been using, I'm asking Mr. Whitlash and Deb Kuntz of JS Held to evaluate the remaining locations using whatever resources they require for that due diligence, and bring a recommendation back to us for selection on June 12th. So they will bring back to us a recommendation June 12th for site location, and then we will have the opportunity then, after hearing that recommendation in a public meeting, to have a discussion about preferred location. So at that time, we'll hear the recommendation, we'll have an opportunity to discuss it. And if we're ready, then we'll be prepared to make a selection. So with that, if JSL and Mr. Whitlash can move forward with that and bring back to us an evaluation of the 3 remaining sites, again, using whatever resources you may deem appropriate to help you with that. All right, any
Point of
questions?
information on that.
Sure.
Are we going to ask Deb and Jim and their teams to parse that recommendation, convention center location versus possible hotel location? What's the actual outcome, do we think? We'll bring it back.
Yeah, I think we're asking a voice. I think we're asking for them to come back and say, having evaluated this, we are recommending that this would be the location for the expansion, giving these remaining options available for hotel.
We're trying to avoid doing this all again for a hotel.
Yes. Although when we get into the RFP process for hotels, if we have recommendations that there could be multiple locations for hotel, that provides hoteliers an opportunity to let us.
There'll be at least two more directions.
Right.
I wasn't a geography major, but I got that figured out.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, moving on. Recommendation from the evaluation group for the CMC, the construction manager, interviews and process, and Deb Coons from JSL, if you can bring us up to speed, up to date on where we are with that.
So, just a quick slide to remind everybody about where we were and how we got to this point. We'll be looking shortly. So, originally there was an RFQ that was issued. Very. Okay, so January 18th, the CIB issued a CMC RFQ. There were 6 responses that were received in mid-February. At that time, you made the decision to put it on hold until the owner's rep was selected. Then, once the owner's rep, thank you again for the opportunity to serve as your owner's rep. April 18th, you also approved then the issuance of a CMC RFP. Which was actually done. There were 5 actual responses that responded to the RFP. All 6 of the firms that submitted their RFQ were invited back to the RFP. There was one that declined, and that was due to workload, and that's Hagerman Construction. So we received the 5 responses, and the reviewers, Mr. Teese, Mr. Bruce, Mr. Reichart, and then advisors, Mr. Underwood, Mr. Whitlash, all met, reviewed the proposals, provided some analysis for those, and then they also met this week to review those proposals and recommend a short list. And so that is the background under which we've gotten to this point. And would you like me to share the short list, or would you like?
Yeah, I just want to make one
Yes,
comment.
please.
And we also made a decision that we would invite all 6 of the original respondents to the RFQ
We did.
to respond to the RFP.
Yes, that was an intentional decision by the CIB.
Yes.
Yes. And so, this group, the initial reviewers, that we didn't have an official name, so we called them initial reviewers. It was evaluation group, initial reviewers, that's all one and the same. Identified that felt like there were 3 candidates that would be worthy of bringing back for interviews. And so those candidates are, in no particular order, are F.A. Wilhelm, Shield Sexton, and Weddle. So those are the 3 that are being recommended by this group, by the initial review group, to come back for interviews. We have more information about the interviews, but maybe we should just pause for a second.
No, that's fine. Would you mind repeating the 3?
Yes, I will repeat the 3. So the 3 candidates of the 5 RP responses are F.A. Wilhelm, Shield Sexton, and Weddleberg.
Okay, so we have a recommendation that we invite those 3 firms to interview with us. Let me ask, is there a motion that we extend that invitation to those 3 for interviews? So moved. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Teese. Any discussion about inviting those 3 for interviews? You can take the roll.
John Weikart,
Yes?
Aaron Spoonmore.
Yes.
Doug Bruce.
Yes.
Joyce Polling, Adam Teese,
Yes.
Jim Silverstein,
Yes.
Jay Bear.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So, Deb, you want to describe then the process moving forward?
So in terms of the process then, after you've approved the shortlist, thank you very much. The entire CIB is invited to be the scorers for the interviews. There are a few conditions here. We definitely need you to be part of the interviews and to be part of all three of them. They are planned for June 4th. So in preparation for June 4th, we will provide to the entire CIB the RFQ responses for all three firms, the RP responses, and a comparison matrix that will help you kind of compare the three of them. So for those who weren't on the initial review, I might suggest you start with the matrix first. It'll give you a quick glance at the key elements for each of those. That's something that Jay Selden put together. We will be sending you a link. If you have trouble with the link accessing those files, please let us know. We're happy to work through that with you. In addition to that, we will also then be in contact with the three firms. And so we will do the final logistical coordination about coming to the convention center it will be a public meeting on June 4th. So what we would ask you as the CIB to do in prep for those June 4th interviews is review the documents. Come prepared and have looked through that. There's information in the RFQ that is not in the RFP responses. So it's really the conglomeration of all of those responses that will bring it together. We do plan to have a little training session to make sure that everybody understands what their role is. We'll talk through the scoring matrix because you will each be asked to score if you're in attendance at all three. And then we'll be available for questions even before June 4th. So anytime between now and June 4th, if you have questions, Mary and I are available for that. So then once we have the interviews on June the 4th, we'll have the 8 a.m. kind of scoring training. And then following that, we will have the interviews between 9 o'clock and noon. So we'll have them back to back. We'll have a little bit of time in between each of them. They will be in person. It will be a public meeting. It's again, I probably can't say that. Assuming you were going to be here for all three interviews, you will be asked to score based on the criteria that was from the information that was provided in the RFQ and the RP. And then we will take all of those scores and we will combine them. We will average them together. We will do a best value, which is basically their cost divided by the average score of the scorers. And then ultimately a CMC candidate will be identified based on that and will be presented at your June meeting.
So and I'm repeating.
Of course.
We'll have an opportunity for training in that 8 to 9 o'clock period of time on June 4th, training session for board members who are going to be involved in all of the interviews. The interviews are set over 3 interviews an hour each from 9 to noon here in the cook room in a public meeting. So the public's invited to attend and be made aware of the interviews and all that will happen in a public setting. Following that, if I recall, what day of the week June 4th is. That's a Tuesday. Then we were going to permit the scorers to submit their scores by June 7th, which is Friday. So
That is correct.
if you're one of the interviewers, you're going to submit back by Friday what your score is. You'll have an opportunity to talk with JSL or for JSL to ask you questions about your scoring. And if they feel the need to do that, JSL will then compile those scores and bring that back to our formal meeting on June 12th with a recommendation based on those scores. Okay. All right.
And so we have put this is the shortened version of the schedule that you just outlined. But yes, June 7th. So you will have several days between the interviews and when we will need your scores submitted. And those scores will be submitted to us, and then we will take all of the averages and present that as a single score and average. So there'll be a single scorecard will be the final determination.
And when the RFP was put out, if I recall correctly, all of the respondents were made aware that June 4th was an interview day. So they were all made aware of the fact that they would be, if they were invited for an interview, it would be on June 4th.
Yeah, I don't think we identified it time. Week of June 3rd. Yeah, but I think we said it was the week after.
Okay,
We actually
okay.
said June 4th. So for those who are listening or maybe in the audience, this is probably the first time they've actually heard
Oh, okay.
the date. We just said it was going to be that.
Okay. All right, questions or comments from board members about the process?
Just a quick one. So it appears as though on our June 12th agenda will be both theoretically the final directional decision as well as construction decision.
Correct.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Mr. Swinton?
I just want to say thanks to the initial review team, and the others who assisted in that process. Really appreciate, all the work that was put into that. And, to Deb, thank you so much. And, you know, you've been so helpful to us. And I think you're exactly right, you know, for that June 4th meeting. Review the documents, let's do our homework, make sure that we're, very well informed on all of these items. And, thanks for keeping everything, keeping track of everything. We really appreciate it.
Mary and I are happy to do that. I will mention during the interviews, typically, we would expect the respondent to give a short presentation and then there will be time for questions. So if you think about, well, what happens during that 55 minutes, 50 minutes, they will do a presentation and then opportunity for questions. It's the general approach.
When do you think we'll see documentation prior to?
Maybe before 5 o'clock tonight. So yeah, they're queued up and ready to go. Well, how about tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock? So, but yes, everything is queued up and ready to go. I need to do one final review to make sure you have everything you need and then you'll have it. So we, you know, I don't know if you really want to do that every Memorial Day weekend, but we made it available. We're going to be.
I would just add, and this kind of goes with what Eric said, is that being part of that committee, we had 5 very good responses. It's not an easy task to choose 3 to interview. So I anticipate the interviews are going to be pretty competitive and pretty information. So I look forward to it. Again, thanks for your help, both of you.
And I would add that the participation of Mr. Teese and Mr. Bruce and their expertise in this area was extremely helpful as we moved all the way through this process. Appreciate it. All right. Moving to the next item of business. Before we get to comments, and let me just say, let's begin with, we didn't put on the agenda, but is there any old business that needs to be brought before the board at this time?
Want to talk about website at that point?
Yes, and I'm gonna ask Mr. Baird to update us on his heroic efforts to create a website for us and show us what he's done.
Mission is accomplished, sir. Somebody's got, you guys online? I gotta pull this up because I'm not connected. It's monroecib.com. Thanks. So we'll pull that up. Site is built, largely populated. We've got a few project documents, RFPs, RFQs, et cetera, that Mr. Whitlatch is sending me. I'll get those installed as soon as we can. And other than that, we're in good shape. All the meetings are up there already. Links to the Zooms, agendas, minutes, everything that for the next 3 or 4 meetings is there. So we're actually in pretty good shape. On that homepage, just a quick statement on who we are. And then below that photograph is a calendar, which people can get quick access to most recent upcoming meetings. We have May, June, and July in there so far. If you scroll back up, if you would, there are a few main sections of the site. First is project and timeline, which attempts as best as I could. It's probably a good idea for Jim, you and John to kind of go through that page. If you want to click on that, it'd be great. To go through this is sort of my description of where we are and how we got here. Probably should put the legal minds on this before we fully publish it to the world. But it does talk about sort of what we've done so far, Schmidt's work, conversions, JSL, et cetera, and then upcoming milestones, the ones we just discussed, for example. So that's sort of the snapshot of where we've been and where we're going. The news actually has links to every single piece of news ever published about this project dating back to 2019, including many created by folks for joining us today. So that's in place. Meetings, as mentioned, has all the forthcoming meetings. Each of those is clickable and has a link to the Zoom, the agenda, the minutes, etc. Actually, not the minutes, the agenda. So that's the section we still need to fill out a little bit. Is resources. So plans and renderings, we just need to figure out what we can and want to put up from Schmidt or anybody else. Budgets and financials, we need to figure out what of the things that Jeff put together, we want to put up there. All the minutes are there, or at least I think every minute from the last year or two was up there in the minutes section. That's done. I presume we want to publish the RFQ and RFP documents. I assume it's a public record, so.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to give those to me, I'll put them up, that's easy. And then the last page there is members, which has just glamorous, extraordinary photos of each of us.
That's my senior picture from high school.
I really had to use a lot of Photoshop on this page to make it work. And then we do have a contact section at the top right. Also, there's a link on the bottom for contact. And there's a nifty little forum there. So when people want to ask questions or provide feedback, at present, that goes to Mr. Whitlatch to then sift and sort as appropriate to member inspectors. So happy for any feedback, ideas, other things that are missing. But that's where we're at so far. It is up at monroecib.com. I would ask any member for the media present to perhaps not trumpet that just yet. So give us a couple days to finalize this, but it'll be monroecib.com.
Thank you, Jay. Very much appreciated. And we had a conversation this morning and Jay's agreed to continue the maintenance of the site as well, which is as critically important as its creation. So appreciate all of your work and all of your.
Yeah, you bet. Send you my bill.
Yeah, it's another one of those billable and not collectible.
Exactly.
Good.
Eric's at point.
Yeah, and so but on that note, it is my understanding that this effort costs the taxpayer $0 to build this website so people can stay informed on everything that we're doing. And so when we talk about fiscal management and fiscal stewardship of the Capital Improvement Board, this makes me very proud. And I'm very thankful for your efforts here. Thank you.
My pleasure, no worries. Yeah, I built it. It's $25 a month to host it, but I'm happy to donate that to the cause. No worries.
Thank you. Thanks. Yes.
Sure, Sean, too. So two things then, is that one, my first thought seeing it is, I mean, it's fantastic, and I think that, I just wonder how many projects like this, that are public projects, have this amount of information so readily available. So I think that's a fantastic job you did, Jay.
Thanks.
The other thing is that perhaps then, because there is the contact portion on this page, and it's gonna go to Jim, we might, maybe that goes under public comment, but for this, once it goes live, we might wanna have anything that gets sent to Jim itemized, I mean, listed here so that we can at least read it or be aware of it on the public comment portion if it gets sent to the website. Just thinking out loud. So,
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Tees.
Thanks.
That's all I heard.
We should be able to pay the $25.
It's all right. Add it to my chat.
We've got an account, we can pay 20.
Send it to me.
But now I'm marking it up. That's it.
No, I think.
But Jeff is already here.
So next time we have claims to approve, we'll add $25.
Thanks.
To the claims process.
You got it.
Okay. All right, any other old business? Brought before the board, any new business? Brought before the board, comments from board members, additional comments?
I just had one question on, and perhaps it's new business or comments. If we're gonna do directions and construction in June, on the website, it says we assume hotel selection-ish August. Does that feel right?
I think what we've had some, on our RFQ, we put a
timeline on there, which I can't remember what it was, but I think we're going to be, we are going to be extending that.
Yeah.
Because we've already missed some of those deadlines, so we do need to extend that.
Right, and at our most recent meeting, what we agreed to do was to hold off on the RFP process for hoteliers until there was a site selection. So that'll put us off whatever. So once we have a site selection, then we will move forward using the similar processes we've been using to
Right.
develop an RFP and then to get that out. So, yeah. All right, any other comments from board members? Comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Yes, Council President Imai Smith.
Hello, thank you all for volunteering to this important task, CFP. As president of the city council, I just wanted to let you know that we're going to have a meeting on, 30th. And, we are working on a letter to outline what the city council will be for this meeting and to sign and the process going forward. And, also at that meeting, we invited the county council and county commissioners to have a general dialogue about the process and to see. So, as you know, the interlocal agreement provided, did mention the additional paperwork from elected officials, city and county, so that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you very much. And I want to recognize that we have other elected or representative guests among us. County Council Member Cheryl Munson is here. I see Stephen Lucas, who's the city council attorney. Pardon? So there, Margie Rice, Corporation Counsel for the city. Who am I missing? Well, Jane Cooper Smith, Director of Economic and Sustainability Development for the city. I probably just mushed that all together.
Jeff Cockrell.
Yeah, and on, yes, Jeff Cockrell's with us.
Larry Allen.
Who else do you see?
Larry Allen.
Oh, Larry Allen, one of the city attorneys. So thank you all for being here and thank you for your attention to all of this. Any other comments from the public before we move on? Next item, is the, committee of the whole board CMC interviews that we've, already discussed. That will be, we will have our training at 8 a.m. on the morning of June 4th, and then we will have interviews begin at 9 a.m. On June 4th here, and the interviews will be here in the cook room. And our next regularly scheduled board meeting is June 12th at 3 p.m. here in the convention center. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Oh, sure.